it's Christina from Card Making Magic. This is the card that I'm going to make today, and principally what I want to show you is how to create these baubles to go on the front of the card. This is if you don't have die cuts or you don't have the pre-cut die cut shapes and you want to make your own. It's very easy to do. So I'm using some white card, some silver mirror card and some Christmas themed paper. So the first thing we need to do is to make the base card, because that will determine what size the bauble is that goes on the front. So all I've done with one piece of white card is cut it in half. I've folded back the top part just a little bit and creased it, and then this is the right side and this is the right side. So with the right sides facing outwards, I'm just going to glue those two together, and then all I need to do is trim off this surplus bit at the bottom, and that will give me my base. So once you have your base card, I'm taking a piece of silver mirror card and I've cut it in half, and I'm placing it with the silver side down, and I'm just going to measure this now so that I can make a small mat. So I'm just making little marks along there, and then once that's cut off, once that's trimmed, that will leave me a piece of card that fits my front and leaves just a small border around the edge. And I'm going to do exactly the same with the other piece, and this will be to line the inside. So with another piece of white card, I've done exactly the same. I've cut it in half, I'm leaving a small border, I'm making marks on my card, I'm going away to cut that, and then once I've done that, I'm going to emboss it, and I've used a snowflake embossing folder from Crafter's Companion, and there it is. So I've done an embossed panel that will sit on top of the silver one, and that is to line the card. I've glued nothing in place yet, but these are the beautiful panels that we have. So I've completed the inside. I've used a little pearl to hide the knot. I'm going to add this panel to the front of the card, and then we'll get busy and make the baubles to go on the front. So I've chosen my Christmas paper, and I wanted some ribbon that would blend with it. So I'm going to put a piece of ribbon around one of these panels, and this is going to be the liner. I've made a small bow to sit on the ribbon. The other two bows are to hold the baubles in place on the front of the card. So I'm going to glue these in place. This will go inside the card. Now once you've got your base card made, you need to decide what size you want your baubles, and to make those you're going to take a piece of cheap copier paper and just fold over part of it. Make a nice crease along there, and then using your card you need to decide how large you want your bauble, and I want mine to be about that big, and then freehand I'm going to draw my shape. So I want to start off with a point at the top, and I want to come round into a shape. Don't come back to the folded part, and then I'm going to come out again and come down to the bottom and into a point, and then I'm going to cut this shape out. Now once you've cut that shape out and you open it out, that's how your bauble is going to look, and that's going to sit on my card. Now if you want a second bauble, then fold your paper over again, and again decide on the size that you want for your card, and I'll make this a long thin one, and I'm going to make it in a different shape. So I'm just going to bring it straight round but come down into points as I come towards the end, and that again needs to be cut out. So if you move the paper as you squeeze in the scissors, you'll get a nice neat shape. So there's going to be, that's how my baubles will look. So once you have your bauble shapes in the size that you want them, you're going to bring in your good paper and you're going to face it with the good side facing down. And then all you're going to do is place your baubles on the paper and you're just going to trace around the outside. And then once you've done that, you can cut those baubles out and we'll go to the next stage. So once you cut your bauble shapes out, the next thing you're going to do is we're going to add some interest to this this shape. So the first thing we're going to do is ink around the edges with an ink that matches your paper. So I'm using broken china on mine, and with a blending tool I'm just going to run the ink around the edge, and that will just help that to stand out a little bit more on your card. So what I'm going to do now is emboss the two baubles, and I'm using the Vintage Flourish from Indigo Blue. So there's my stamp, it's on my pad. I'm just going to ink that up with some Versamark or anything that will help your embossing powder to stick, and I'm just going to ink up the stamp. Now this is sticky and it will stay sticky until you put your powder on it. So I'm not putting it over all of the bauble, I'm just going to put it on part of the bauble. So press it down, make sure it's all well pressed down. Now when I take this off you won't be able to see anything, but I'm going to sprinkle it with some Silver Sparkle. This is one of the Wow powders, and I'm just going to sprinkle that over, and then once you remove that you will have the pattern on your bauble. So I'm going to heat that, and I shall do exactly the same to the other bauble. So always do your embossing powder on a piece of copy paper, and if you make a little crease in it, then all you need to do is pour that powder back into its little container and you're ready then to use that again. Don't throw it away, whatever you do. Now at the moment the powder looks dull, but once you've heat embossed it, it goes very silvery, very sparkly. So I'm just going to use a heat gun and heat emboss. Now once you've done the heat embossing, you're just going to add these baubles to a piece of silver card, glue them in place, and then you're going to cut them out so that it leaves just a small border around the edge. And please don't worry about it being absolutely perfect, it doesn't need to be. You're going to add so much interest to this card that people will look at the overall effect. They won't look at every little angle and cut that you've made. Now to add the baubles to the card, I want them raised off the front. So I've added foam tape to the back of one, that's a single layer, and on the other bauble, which I want to be higher, I've laid a double layer. So I'm just going to add these now to the front of the card, and I think I would like them round about there. So we'll pop one along there and we'll overlap that one and pop that one along there. Now at the moment they're just dangling in mid-air, so you need to bring something that looks like a string that they are hanging off. Now you can either use peel-offs and add that to the card, or you can use some of the Want to Scrap bling, which I'm going to use. Now I'm using the thin diamantic from the Want to Scrap Bling, and all I'm doing is popping it in underneath the bauble and bringing it up to the top, and I'm going to do that for both of the baubles, and then they look as if they're attached. So I'm just going to do that. There we are. So now I can attach the bows, and I'm just using a little bit of hot glue, and I'm just going to pop that in along the top of each of the baubles, and then to hide those knots I'm just adding in a single diamante, and that's going to sit along there. So I've added in some diamante swirls to the card, and at the top I've taken the theme of jingle from the paper and I've added in jingle bells at the top. The inside is completed the same, and that card is now ready to go. So there you have a very pretty bauble card, and it's very easy to make. Please don't be too precious about any mistakes that you make on it. Add the interest, people will not see it.